Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Thriving Adoptees podcast. And today we're trying something completely new. We have 4 guests for you today. So we're going to be distilling 4 different lovely ladies' wisdom to help you adoptive parents along your way. So we have Belinda, Gina, Cassie, and Donna, all from Florida. Yeah. All from Florida, and this conversation came around about through the Heart Gallery. I found Gina, who works with the Heart Gallery down in one of the Heart Galleries down in Florida, and she has brought together these lovely ladies. So thank you very much for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to this. As I said on the emails, I love trying new formats and being stretched. This is going to stretch me a little bit. Yeah. And similarities, really, isn't it? Because adoption stretches us. So welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you. We're so happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what I'd like to do first off is just perhaps set a little bit of a scene. So Gina, could you I've given a very brief intro. Can you just give us put a little bit more flesh on the bones, and then we'll have the individual conversations with Belinda, Gina, and Donna.
Yeah, definitely. So we are from Heart Gallery Big Bend, which is in Northwest Florida and Tallahassee and Bay counties. And we are just a network of volunteers. None of us are paid doing what we do. We just volunteer our free time to support adoption in our communities. We work with local photographers to get up-to-date portraits for youth seeking adoption, so we can make sure to share them on our websites, social media, post physical galleries, and shared spaces to try to find more homes for these children who really deserve it. So each of these ladies have a wealth of knowledge on adoption. I've worked in child welfare for several years, so I'm excited for us to share all of our experiences with you today.
Yeah, fantastic. So is Tallahassee the one that's famous for the Tallahassee Bridge, or is that a different Tallahassee? Have you heard this song? Something about Tallahassee Bridge? No?
Couldn't be us. We have no water near us.
Oh, okay. Right. So yeah, there's different places, yeah, because we don't have that so much in the UK, because we don't have as many towns as you have. So, you know, when people say, you know, you give the name of the town or the city and then the state afterwards, we don't do that here in the UK, but that's because you've got so many. So there must be another Tallahassee. So what on the back of a podcast that I recorded yesterday, there's the theme that comes through loud and clear for me is that for adoptees to thrive, it's all about the parents. It's all about our inner strength, our inner resilience, our stuff. Getting, as Holly Ann Petrie, who was a guest on one of the earlier podcasts, said, it's about unpacking our own baggage as adoptive parents. So most people think it looks like it's about parenting techniques and adoptive parenting techniques in particular, but it's not actually about that. Those are what we do. What we're looking at is the place we're coming from. So it's our inner game. It's about our inner game, and our inner game drives our outer game. It's not it's the love first and it's the strategy second. So with that in mind, I thought what would be really good to do today was to find out what you have learned about yourselves and what you continue to learn about yourselves through the process of raising kids. Because if we shine a light on that, then hopefully that will catalyze some insights amongst the adoptive parents listening, and they will see their own strength. And the deeper they can see their own strength, the more resilient they're going to be as they ride the sometimes choppy waters, often choppy waters of adoption. So. Cassie, you were telling me that you you adopted a teen who, and it was the second time this teen had been adopted. So can you tell us a little bit more about that and what you learned through that?
Yeah, so I've actually adopted 4 and I'm working on my 5th kiddo. But 2 years ago, a year ago, I adopted a teen. 2 years ago, he moved in with me as an adoptive placement. Through that process, I would say that that's probably been my hardest period in the first year to year and a half. He's come a long way, we've come a long way, but we learned so much about ourselves. We learned about our marriage, that we weren't sometimes on the same page where we needed to be a forward as parents and be together. I also learned that about my trauma from my childhood that was just there, that had never been addressed. And because of that trauma, me and my child had some of the same things that overlapped, and that kind of allowed us to connect. But it was difficult because we both put up walls, right? When we felt like we were going to get hurt, we would lift these walls up and then we couldn't get through. And so we learned that we needed to reach out. So while he has his therapy sessions, we come in sometimes when he's willing for us to. We also, as the parents, have our own therapy session to support us. We learned that we can get through it. We clearly made it through it. It felt like we were failing 100%. And I think when I learned that I wasn't failing, was actually at our most recent adoption, which was last Friday for one of our kiddos. My teenager spoke to the judge when the judge asked, does anybody else have anything they want to share? And when he spoke, it was so eloquent. It was so caring. It was well prepared, even though he hadn't prepared anything. And I was blown back, and I just realized, okay, I didn't do so bad the last 2 years. I was not failing. It just felt like my head was underwater a lot. And I think that I learned, and my husband learned, that we have more strength inside of us than we ever realized we had.
Yeah. Wow, there's so much there. Just to pick up on that last point, there's a world out there that's telling us that we need to go out into the outside world and become stronger, like we go to the gym to become stronger. So we think we've got to do stuff to be more resilient. And all the people that are trying to sell us resilience training will tell us that. But for me, resilience is seen, not developed. But I didn't know that, right? I felt I had to go out there and develop the resilience muscles. So what that means is it puts our resilience on hold. It means that we look outside ourselves, and it means that we fail to see the inner resilience that we have. And there's a delay in that. If we're thinking that resilience has to be strengthened, like a muscle has to be strengthened, it's like, well, how long is it going to take? When's this going to happen? When is this going to be over? Whereas seeing our own resilience, that happens like in a split second. It happens way faster. It happens when we see it. So when did you see it, Cassie? When was that moment? You talked about seeing how far your son had come with his eloquence in the court case. But when did you see your own strength? Was there a particular moment?
So I've been fostering for 4 years too. And so through that, I've seen a lot of resilience at different times. But I guess I would say my particular moment is probably last Friday, in all honesty, because it gave me a chance to look back on the last 4 years of fostering and the last 2 years with my teenager, and realize that, wow, we've come so far. Because once you get past all that stuff, you kind of forget what you went through. and how hard it was, because now it's easy, or now you're like, oh my goodness, how am I going to get through this thing? And you think right now it's hard. But when I actually sat down and thought about it, and thought about, I'm big, and right now I'm working on my mindset and things like that for myself personally. And I actually thought about it and I said, wow, we went through so much. He went through so much. We went through so much. We have come so far. The amount of aggression in our home has changed. We don't have things being thrown. We don't have doors being slammed. We don't have somebody who's cursing me out. We made it through all of that. And he is still in my home. And he has written me recently a Mother's Day letter that was so sweet, telling me I was the closest thing to a mom he had ever had, and the strongest mom he had ever had, to stick through with him. And I will say that I do think I saw it earlier on too, in the first year, when he was really pushing, and he'll tell us, I was pushing you. I was waiting to see for you to kick me out and give me back, just like it happened before, with my previous adoptive family. And I had to have the strength to say, I am not kicking him out. I will stand firm. And I even sat down and told him, I said, listen, we can keep pushing, like you can keep pushing, but even if you burn my house down, I'm going to rebuild it. I'm going to move you back into your own room. And then I said, but if you do burn my house down, can you make sure you burn the whole thing? Because I really want a brand new house, and we're fixing to remodel. So burn that down too, because I don't want to pay all this money out and then you burn it. And so, and he started laughing, Mom, really, I'm not going to burn your house down. And so in that moment, I realized I can do this. I really can. And it took me saying that versus all my support system that I have in place to, giving me that support. But I had to realize that for myself. And now I feel that no matter what's put my way, I can handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. There's so much there. For me, it's like you had chance to take stock, and in the middle, in the middle of what was a very tricky time, you couldn't see the incremental changes that were happening, because you're so like us all, right? We lose perspective. We can't see the wood for the trees. So and also we have a tendency in the Western world to focus on what's wrong. And we're not very good at congratulating ourselves about what we're doing right. Yeah. So we're often also, people say, well, we are our own worst critic, right? Now, for me, that's like there's actually that there's the truth the truth of who we are, and there's the voice the voice in our head that tells us that we're no good, right? So we're no good. So for me, we're no good because we're an adoptee, or we're no good because we haven't had 100,000 downloads of the podcast yet, or whatever it is. Yeah, that negative, or for adopted parents that we're no good. That voice in our head isn't us. We're not criticizing ourselves. What the voice in our head is simply a program that we picked up along the way, but it isn't the essence of who we are. We're not battling ourselves. We can't get in the way of ourselves, because that would imply that there's two people. Yeah, somebody else can get in. Somebody else can get in front of me. Can get in my way on the sidewalk, or what we would call the pavement. But I can't actually get in my own way. What's getting in the way is the voice in our head. It's a self-limiting belief, or it's a thought, but it isn't who we are. Right? Yeah. Does that make? Yeah. So what areas, to me, like you say that you're working on your mindset, to me sounds like you've seen the inner strength. So what are you hoping to see differently in terms of working on your mindset?
Well, I think you kind of talked about it a little bit there, is that no matter if you've seen that resiliency or that change, you're still going to have your brain telling you those things. And you have to be able to shift that mindset and able to recognize when you're going down that path. And for me, that is one of the things that I work on daily. And that comes from my trauma when I was younger. And so recognizing that there are many days where if we're struggling in our home, that comes to me, oh, you're a horrible mom, you're failing, you're not doing a good job, like these kids, you're creating more trauma for your kids, those sort of things. And then I have had, with my mindset, I've had to break it down. I've really worked on just breaking it down day by day, sometimes hour by hour. Okay, that's not true. What did I accomplish today? What did I do? I held my kid while he cried because he doesn't understand at 8 years old. I want to see my dad. I know I'm adopted. I want to see my dad, but my dad's not safe. And I just held him. And that enough, even though it's hard for both of us to process, me just being there in that moment was a win-win for us both. And so I have to really push that thought process out of my head daily. And that's what I'm really working on right now.
Okay. Have you heard of Byron Katie's The Work? Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
You might find that interesting. It's a slightly more formal way of doing what you're already doing. So it's a self questionnaire, right? Just if you just put in Byron Katie, the work, it'll come up and it gives you a formula. It gives you a formula because I think for me there's what I've tried and that doesn't work is trying to fighting the voice in my head has prolonged the battle. Yeah. And then I get into I shouldn't be feeling like this. I shouldn't be thinking like this. Right. And there's a saying one of my mentors uses, says what we resist persists. So we can butt against it. We can butt against that voice in our head and it butts back. And that's like butting against one of our kids. Then they're gonna butt back. So this guy Richard talks about the voice in my head becoming an opinion I no longer value. So it's trying to de-escalate it rather than fighting it. It's de-escalating the battle, and the work process is about gives us a process to kind of investigate it. So if we fight it, it comes back fighting, like our kids do. And if we investigate it, we explore it, and we realize that there was nothing there. It was just some thoughts that we'd got stuck on because of habit, because they've been around there a long time, So it's a bit like it's a bit like bringing an ice cube out into the Tallahassee heat, right? The belief melts over time. And here in the UK, because we're having some hot weather, it will melt pretty fast here as well. But usually it takes quite a long time because it's colder. So, so does that make any sense?
Yes, makes a ton of sense.
It makes
and I will definitely be checking out that book too. So.
Yeah. She's got loads of books and she's got loads of videos on YouTube about the work, where she does the work. She interviews. So she does it on stage as an interview. and she's got a book about it, and she's got like just a simple like a Word document or a PDF, and you kind of do it yourself. So whichever way works best for you, whether you want to watch somebody else doing the work, you want to read about it, or you want to, I listen to her on audio books, or you actually want to do it, because different people learn different about it. So yeah. Have you got is there anything more that you'd like to share before we move on, Cassie?
I don't think so. I think that we kind of covered most of what I've kind of noticed, and had to just put into perspective for myself, and just kind of challenge myself to take all of the things that I go through personally and just channel that and embrace it most of the time. So I think we covered majority of it.
Yeah, cool. What do you mean by perspective?
I would say being able to put in perspective that the things that have happened for me with my trauma, the things that have happened, don't define who I am, and they don't define my future. That's left up to me. And realizing that the person who created that was them, and that had nothing to do with me. And that's that resiliency again of, they're not going to define me. What they did is on them, and I forgive them for that. But I'm going to take that and I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to choose my path in the things that I do. Yeah,
brilliant. I mean, the identity piece, you really put the nail on the, hit the nail on the head with that. And people say to me, Simon, you're really hopeful. And I say, yeah, I am, and you're getting me at my best, right? When I'm doing this, right? You're getting me at my best. I'm not always like this, but I am really hopeful. So, and I said, do you want me to explain why I'm so hopeful? Yeah. I said, we are not our trauma. Kids are not their trauma. It's not us. It's not who we are. Separating separating the voice in our head from who we are is really powerful. And in the adoption space, separating ourselves to see that the trauma isn't us, and as you say, that the past doesn't define the future, is the source of my the source of my hope. We are not our trauma. It isn't us. We are, what is it? Trauma can be looked at as in, okay, it's a traumatic event, or traumatic feelings, anger, insecurity, shame, traumatic thoughts, I'm not good enough, trauma-induced behavior, all that aggression. Well, we're not our behavior. That comes and goes. Sometimes kids are acting up and sometimes they're not, even in the worst stages. Sometimes there's going to be a moment's peace. We're not our feelings. Our feelings come and go. They go perhaps come and go a little bit slower, perhaps, than some of the behavior, or faster, I don't know. It depends, doesn't it? And we're not our thoughts. They definitely come and go. We have 70,000 of them a day.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not our behavior. We're not our traumatized behavior. We're not the trauma of our feelings, and we're not trauma of the thoughts. So everybody's focusing, we've become trauma obsessed. Everybody's focusing on the trauma. Well, it's not who we are. I bang on about this all the time, right? I'm doing this again. I did it yesterday, but I can't get enough of it. I hold up a fist to the camera, and the fist represents violence and aggression and trauma. And I open my hand, and inside there is a glass diamond that I got off Amazon for £9, about £7 quid, about $9, right? Let's focus on the diamond of who we truly are, not the trauma of and the trauma that we are. Sorry, the diamonds the diamond that we are, the diamond that our kids are. not on the trauma of their behavior, not on the trauma in their feelings, not even in the trauma of the thoughts. Because like what we focus on gets bigger. I mean, that's like, if you're doing mindset, the mind does that. It enlarges it. Anyway, I'm banging on. This is supposed to be your show. So it's my favorite subject. That's why I've got hope. You got any questions for me, Cassie?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. That's good, because I've talked too much, so we get on to it. Right, so next we're going to move on to Donna. So Donna, you adopted 3 siblings, right? If I can read my notes correctly from
Yes, sir. I adopted 3 sibling brothers.
Wow. Okay.
Had 4.5 years. 2 years we fostered, and then 2.5 years they've been our adopted sons. So they were 2, 4, and 7 when we got them in our care. So I guess what I've learned about myself is that I have a lot of understanding and patience that I didn't realize that I had throughout the process of having them. And then I also fostered for 5 years and had 9 children throughout my home. So it's been them as well as other children. And I guess where I say the understanding come from is that they're always going to remember their parents, especially the oldest child, and have an understanding that there is a hole that I, as an adoptive parent, and my husband will never be able to fill. We'll try, we'll give them as much love and care that we can, but that void will still be there. We have to understand that, and that when they do talk about their parents, the good and the bad, sometimes they'll say, I want to go home randomly when, we work so hard. That's okay. That is their past, and we have to understand that. So, and then patience with that as well, not to get upset that, oh, they're still talking about their family. They didn't keep them safe. No, that's part of them, and it'll always be a part of them. And also patience and understanding of the trauma that they went through, that, like Cassie mentioned, that it was hard at first, the fighting, the kicking, the bad behavior, learning that over time you can help just have that patience and that understanding, and you can work through anything.
Yeah. So as you're saying all this, Donna, I'm thinking, I'm seeing a clash between your truth and mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, do you know what I mean? What I mean is, like, I'm saying, like, first off, is like, I'm an adoptee, not an adoptive parent, so I haven't been through any of this. But like hearing what you're saying about a void and the hole that can't be filled, I'm thinking, it does what I say clash? I'm seeing a clash between what I said and what you said from that.
I think it just depends too when they were adopted. So like my 2 youngest, I'll say they don't ask about their parents as much. My oldest, he does, and he has those memories. And I think over the years, as he's with us more, that void will get filled more and more. But I feel like it'll always be a little piece of him. Do I think that we can fill it almost completely? Yes. But I feel like it'll still be there. I think there's a difference in age, I think, and what each kid has been through.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Okay. I'm really intrigued by this, right? Because I'm very intrigued and curious. And I know that we're talking about metaphors, right? You're talking about void.
Yes, sir.
And what is it? What do you mean by void?
That they're not with their biological parents. I think for my oldest son, even down to, I look more like my mom and dad. They have red and blonde hair. Me and my husband have brown hair. It can even be physical, down to that void of, we don't look alike. I mean, I know that sounds silly, but sometimes that comes up, and he's been with me 4.5 years. Well, I have my biological dad's eyes, my biological dad's hair. Like, is that void necessarily? I don't know, but I know that that's something that I can't fill for us to look alike. I mean, I know that's a silly example, but that's one little thing.
No, I don't think it's silly at all. I really don't think it's silly at all. I've got a different metaphor for it.
Yeah.
That to me, that feels a bit more real to me. If I could run that by you, that'd be
Yes,
okay?
sir.
Yeah. It's almost as if, so yeah. So I had teeth out. So I had really bad buck teeth, you know, like Bugs Bunny, the cartoon character, when I was a kid. And I got a lot of stick for that. I got a lot of bullying for that. I got a lot of name calling. And so I said to mum and dad, right, and we need to get, I want to get my teeth sorted out. So I had some what's retainers, you call them retainers, is that retainers is what you call them? Yeah, we call them braces here. So
Right.
Before I had the retainers, I had some teeth out, and you know, like when you remove a tooth, it creates a void. Yeah. So on one sense, you know, they're missing the mum and dad, they're missing their biological parents, right? So that might be one way of seeing it, as a void. That's, to me, sounds like it feels like a feeling that comes and goes, right? Rather than being the sense, being the essence of who we are, you know, underneath our feelings, which gives me some hope. But the first kind of tooth metaphor that came to me was like, you know, when a tooth is like a baby tooth is wobbly and it's going to come out.
Yes, sir.
Like what you were explaining about your son, your 7-year-old, right? This is the oldest one. She's 7-year-old.
At the time he was 7, yes, sir.
At the time he was 7, yeah. It feels more like a wobbly tooth. So he's kind of like his sense of self wasn't secure. His grounding wasn't secure. His foundations weren't secure. He was wavering and a bit wobbly. So, what do you make of? Does that make sense? Does that
Yeah,
does that
yeah, and I definitely agree that it's a feeling, and then it comes and goes. That's not every day. That's every now and then. But just to know that, have that understanding that will come up, you know, every now and then, and just say, you know, yeah, you do look like your biological parents, or yeah, they did love you, and you know, have to explain, you know, that it just didn't work out, you know. But it's not, like I said, not all the time, but just be understanding of that trauma and then things that they went through, and
yeah,
no, not selfish on myself, that hey, I've taken care of you for 4 years, but they have a past. So I guess that's what I'm saying, is being understanding of myself, that they have a past. It's not about me, it's about them too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Powerful. And the thing that pops up, I'm thinking back to the conversation with Cassie. We were talking about fighting our own thoughts and fighting our own feelings, and how that prolongs the war, right?
Correct.
So what we want to be doing is empathizing with our own kids' feelings, rather than making them wrong for thinking a certain way or feeling a certain way. We don't want to make these feelings the villains, do we?
Correct.
Because otherwise it'll just invalidating.
Yeah.
Invalidating.
So understanding, having empathy. I realized I have empathy and feelings.
Yeah, I mean, that's these are direct opposites, aren't they? Empathy and invalidation are completely two ends of the spectrum. So what sort of stuff are you looking to explore more and learn more about yourself, Donna? What you is there anything in particular? Cassie talked about working on a mindset. Are you doing? Is there any area that you're looking at the moment, or are you, are you concentrating just on the mom stuff?
I would say, I mean, I guess I'll piggyback off Cassidy, is having mindset, and over the years, to get those thoughts and feelings out of the head, the negative, and like you mentioned, to try to be more positive. And the way I do that is I have faith. I'm a Christian and I believe in God. So praying a lot is probably the number one thing that I do to help through that. But also, say, no, don't think like that. It's all going to be okay. Just positive reminders, even a sticky note on the window saying it's you can get through this.
Yeah. I'm not a religious person, but I'd say I'm a kind of like spiritual person. And for me, I did a podcast a few weeks ago with a very, very religious guy, actually. And what the place that we got to was faith. I'm defining faith as my sort of faith, which is perhaps more spiritual, or your sorts of faith, which is religious, right? So I'm using faith as a banner for both of those, right? That kind of that faith is the to me, that faith trumps psychology, trumps mindset. Every time, in my view. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, I'm invalidating Cassie. I didn't mean to do that. I just think faith is somehow, it's like faith is like 1,000 horsepower, right? And thoughts, and they're puny, weeny little things with I'm thinking of like one of those powerboat racers, like it's got 3 engines on the back and it's got like 1,500 horsepower, and then you've got the guy who has a little boat, a little inflatable boat to go out to his powerboat, and it's got a 5 horsepower engine on the back of it. Like faith, and wherever it comes from, and in whatever shape it has just got it's just got so much more power than the thought stuff to me.
I agree.
Yeah, and that's why you do your that's why religion and praying is your, what would you call it? Is it where you gather yourself? Is it your peace? What do you pray for? What's the point? What do you ask for? What's the point of your prayer? Why do you?
Yeah. So when I pray, it could be, I talk to God in a normal voice, a normal way, but it could be every day in the car, or just get me through this day, get me through this, give me guidance. How can I be a better mother to my children? Help me have positive thoughts. And I think with faith, there comes hope. And I have hope every day, that something good's going to happen. We're going to have a good day. If we don't, try again.
Yeah.
So.
Brilliant. So, Belinda, we're going to thank you very much, Donna. But Belinda's got a slightly different take on this again. So lovely to have variety on their expert panel this afternoon. Because Billy, you're a single mom, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit more about your story and your learnings?
Yes, sir. So I'm a single mom. I have 3 kids. My boys are my biological sons, and then my daughter was adopted out of foster care. She came to me at the age of 2. I was her foster mom, and then her case did move to adoption, and she was 4 when I adopted her. And as I'm sitting back here, hearing everybody's stories of resilience, and, you know, I don't have another adult in the house that I can say, tag, you're it. I need a break on those really hard days. And so I find myself saying, you're gonna have to do it. You don't have a choice. And finding that strength within myself, I can really do this. I was made for this. I can do this. And I've made it through every single day. And I do have a wonderful support system. My mom lives close, and which brings me to another point about resilience and being single. And during 2020, when COVID hit, the school shut down. They sent me home to work. So it was me and my 3 kids at home by myself, and I lost my support system. And I started seeing more behaviors in my daughter as she gets older. Different things come up, different triggers, different trauma. And the behaviors just seemed to escalate over 2020 when we were out of our routine and everything. And every day it was hard. It was hard losing your support system. It was hard not having another adult there. Yeah, I can make phone calls to my friends and stuff and my mom, and I did do that. But I look back on that year now and say, I don't know how I got through that, but I did. And that actually gives me more strength to wake up every day and do it all over again. Look back on all those hard days, and they did school at home and I was working from home, and yeah, it was almost traumatic as a parent going through that. But the resilience that I found in that, and finding myself, and then the inner strength that I didn't even know I had, even up to that point. I was very proud of myself.
Yeah.
It was a good feeling to say, yeah, I can do this. I can make it through all the hard days. And so far, 100%, I've made it through every day.
Yeah. Yeah. You bringing back memories for me on that, when we first went into the lockdown, because my wife had just retired probably 3 months before. And so she's at home, and I used to work in the kitchen, and I was trying to do either like a day's work. I had some really tedious stuff that I needed to focus on. I needed like a spreadsheet thing, and I had to be focused on it, and I really didn't want to do it, but I couldn't put it off. I had to do it, but I needed to, my brain. And she was sitting in the corner, watching one of an update, from Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, who, yeah, okay, let's not go there. And I just absolutely lost it, because I was cheesed off about doing this work. I really didn't want to do this work, and I couldn't concentrate on it. And she's listening to Boris talking what he talks. And so I just had to, I had to get out of the place, and I said something nasty to snapped at my wife, and I realized something inside me told me to go out and walk the dog, clear my head, and then halfway round the walk, I was on Amazon and I ordered a desk. Yeah. So and I put a desk in the spare room, so that I could have peace and quiet and doing that stuff. So yeah, but that's one extra person around. You had 3 extra people around, so it's a big one. There's this seeing of our own resilience. It seems a little bit. Is it a bit magic? Is it? It's like we don't.
Yes.
Like you can't really explain how it happens. It's a bit, to me, it's a bit like, how we sometimes we go to bed with a problem, lie awake for an hour and a half thinking about it, whatever, and then eventually just zonked out and disappear into sleep. And then in the morning, you wake up with a solution. You don't know where it came from. It came from the back burner. It came out of the blue, this new idea, this insight, this aha moment. That's the magic. Yeah, how does that look to you?
I think magic is it's a great way to describe it. But yeah, it's when you wake up that next morning, and I do go to bed at night worried about stuff, and if I've been a good enough mom that day and what I need to do better. And sometimes those negative thoughts start slipping in, and yes, you say, you know what, I'm just going to wake up the next morning and I'm going to try to be even better than I was the day before. And I just keep moving forward. So I think, to me, I just I'm just headstrong right on into whatever issue I need to tackle. And like, kind of like Cassie and Donna said, have a lot of understanding and empathy for my kids, and knowing that when they're angry due to trauma, it is not a personal attack on me. And that's something I've really been trying to work on. They're not personally attacking me, and don't take it personally. So yeah, I think I go to bed and try not to have those negative thoughts, let the magic happen while I'm sleeping, and wake up and face the new day. So that's what I try to do every day.
There's a sense, we talked about earlier on about what we resist persists. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to worry, and then I used to worry about worrying.
Yeah. I've been there.
And then I'd worry about worrying. And then the fourth layer would come. And the fifth layer. And now I worry less about worrying. Like, does it matter? Does it stop me? Does your, like, who wants to feel like they're a bad person? Clearly, none of us want to feel like we're a bad person or something like that. But does it stop us? It doesn't stop you doing stuff, does it? It doesn't. Like, we've got this. I think there's this, this. Well, I'm just speaking from my own experience. That thing that came out, the movie that came out. The Secret years ago. Like you think, well, if I worry, that's what I thought, right? If I worry, that means that bad things are more likely to happen. I should be doing this manifesting stuff, and like, oh, your own negative thoughts are actually making it go wrong, Simon. And just like, that's how I went for it for a while. But something realized. I was talking to a mentor of mine last year, and I realized, well, yeah, I may have all these negative thoughts in my head. Yeah, I may feel like I'm not achieving what I want to achieve, but most of the time it doesn't stop me. And but I'm talking about kind of businessy stuff, and like that podcast, that sort of social. Sometimes people say, well, I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm not in it for the money. I don't do this. I charge for speaking, but I don't do it for the money. I do it for that. You haven't got a choice. None of you have got any choice. So I've got a choice about this stuff. I've got a choice. I've got a choice. I could let my self-doubt stop me doing things. So at the moment, actually, I'm trying to break into schools and colleges, and nobody wants to talk. Nobody. They're just not interested at all. But I'm just like, okay, well, maybe I give it a rest this week and I'll go back to it next week and see if it works. But you guys haven't got a choice. You haven't got a choice. So well, what are we going to do? Are we going to beat ourselves up? Are we going to beat ourselves up about beating ourselves up? Yeah. Don't do what Simon does. Don't worry about worrying. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, you haven't got a choice. Anyway, what what do you make of that? It's the stuff in my head, and sometimes it's a bit weird and wacky. So.
I guess, I mean, I don't have a choice. I have to push through and take care of my kids and go to work and make a living, and maybe that's part of my resilience. You know, if you dive deeper into it, maybe that's what's driving part of this, is because I want to take care of my kids and I love my kids and have the best life possible. So my drive is higher for them too. I don't know. We could dive way deep into that.
Yeah, we could. Go on. Do you want to go deeper?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't need to if you don't want to. I'm not a therapist, by the way. You're not a therapist.
You're not a therapist. This is actually really good therapy, though. I'm
good. I've had some bad therapy. That wasn't so good.
No, I mean,
there's a show in there called Bad Therapy. Sorry.
But no, I mean, I think it definitely, my kids do drive me. And I would love to add more one day. And so I just get up and I keep going. I can't explain it other than that's my drive. And I believe this is my purpose in life. And I think putting those two together, you just put one foot in front of the other and you move forward, whether or not you've had a bad day or a good day. There's always a new day tomorrow.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it's a very intelligent guy, way intelligent. Well, two intelligent guys, two way more intelligent guys than me. And one was trying to rationalize it all, and it sounded all really good. And I just thought, no, you're trying to explain somebody else's behavior. You know, you're not him. What are you on about? You know, like, don't do it. And it sounded great, sounded very plausible, but it wasn't. You know, like, do you have in the UK here? Every football pundit thinks that they know what's going on in somebody's head. What gives you the right? Anyway, so let's. I want to go back to Cassie and ask you. Well, sorry, Belinda. I want to thank you first. Yeah, I want to go back to Cassie and if you want to share anything you've heard or any questions you've got from what your colleagues on today's panel have shared. Or
yeah, I think one of the things is Belinda and I talk a lot behind the scenes, messaging or whatnot. And I think what I've also noticed is by watching other people's resilience of pushing through, that also helps me. Belinda is a single mom. I luckily have a partner who can pick up and I can tag in and tag out occasionally. And I look at it and say, okay, if Belinda can make it through with 3 kids, well, I have 8, but I can make it through. It's like a 1-to-4 ratio right there with 2 of us. So, and if looking at others that they have bigger things. So like, I always try to remember that something that somebody else is going through could possibly be way bigger than what I'm making mine. And I am one person, I share this very openly, but I do have anxiety and depression. I go between both of them. And I have that worrying feeling that you talk about. It's like a worry after worry after worry. I can be that person that stays up till 2 a.m. because of something that has triggered that day to cause that. And I have had to learn that it's okay to worry. In that, like you said, is a feeling, but the next day, I'm still going to wake up the next day. That worrying's not going to change. Like, that moment of worrying's not necessarily going to change, But the next day the next day is going to come, and the next day is going to start again. And it's another opportunity that things are going to be different. And I'm going to have different challenges and different viewpoints throughout the day. And I'm going to learn different things. So I try to be very open to just learning from other people and taking in their resilience and what their example of doing things in their lives look like.
Yeah. And by showcasing your resilience, I'm hoping to catalyze more resilience in the listeners. Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah. Does me saying feelings aren't who we are, or you know, you said I have anxiety, right? So does me saying trauma is something that we have rather than something and not something that we are, does that make any difference to you whatsoever, or is that just Simon playing on words?
No, I think it does. I definitely think that I've just never thought of it that way. So when you say that, it's just a different perspective for me to kind of be able to process and think about. I just never thought of it in that viewpoint.
It's a new one to me, right? What I'm doing is I'm separating. What I'm doing is separating it, and when so I started on my stuff studying this stuff about 14 years ago, and I separated between me and the voice in my head. Mm-hmm. And separating gave me some distance, because that's what separation does. It gives us distance, and it gave me distance, like horizontal distance, but it also gave me vertical distance, and that's perspective in like in the physical world is about being able to see the wood for the trees. It's about, people talk about an insight, a shift in our perspective, and that means when we see the wood for the trees, we get helicopter vision. We're not in the weeds, we're on the mountaintop, right? You know, we can see, and we can see further, and we don't get kind of lost in the detail. So separating me being able to separate between the true Simon and the voice in Simon's head, right, gave me breathing space. And the breathing space allowed me to see different things. So if and I've recently started applying this to the trauma world, right? So trauma is something that we feel, I think, essentially. Trauma is, we have a traumatic event, or we have the aftermath of the trauma. And I recently read a book about a Holocaust survivor, and she suffered more from the aftermath than she did actually in the concentration camp, which was an eye opener for me. But yeah, trauma isn't who we are. And so the breathing space that I got from the voice in my head, the breathing space that I got between me and my trauma, made it easier somehow. And I was just thinking whether the same thing would be, if we look at anxiety, it's overthinking, isn't it? It's me, talking about worrying. Yeah, But then again, I wouldn't say that I've got anxiety. I would quite willingly admit that, you know, I worry about worrying. But I don't know whether I would say I've got anxiety. Anyway, I'm waffling on. Anything you want to add on that, on the top of that, Cassie?
No, I think that, I mean, the only other thing that I would add, one other thing, is that I agree. It's hard to see when you're in the moment handling something. It's very hard to see because you're in those weeds, like you said. And once we get through it, that's when I'm able to reflect and notice that, you know, this is kind of what happened. This is where I'm at. This is what I pushed through. And it just gives me momentum for the next time to be able to continue on.
Yeah.
Because as humans, we can't stop doing things, right? We have to keep going.
Yeah.
And we have so many things going on. So we just push through. And I know as moms, we do that a lot, where we push through and we kind of don't take care of ourselves in a lot of aspects, because we're just, I always say, like, you're just programmed that way. If you're a mom, right? You just handle it all and you say yes to everything that everybody asks you to do. And so, you know, that was one thing I had to work on too, was it's okay to say no. I can't take that on right now. We're just in a place where we need to focus on ourselves, and I need to connect with my kiddos. And that is what helps us get through every day, is connecting with each other and rebuilding relationships when we have had those hard moments.
Yeah, for sure. Donna, have you got anything to add? Anything you'd like to add to the conversation, or questions you want to raise?
Not really any questions. I just want to say that, like, I think me and Cassie and Belinda can agree that even through these dark and hard times and these feelings, we would adopt our kids 100 million times over. The good outweighs the bad 1,000,000 times. I mean, and like Belinda said, they are drive. They make us, you know, I don't want to get up every day and do better and be better parents, and, you know, have that resilience, have that understanding, that patience. And I just have, you know, you just work through it because you love them, and you would, like I said, the good days outweigh the bad.
Yeah, wise words there. Yeah, as you said that, the negative voice in my head saying you were missing the big picture somewhere along the way, Simon. You know, that is the big picture. That is the big picture. There's some huge wisdom there, for sure. Gina, would you like to add anything?
I really wish I could say anything that hasn't already been said. I mean, these women are fantastic doing what they do every day. And, you know, just to quickly chime in, I see this every day. I work in foster care. So at the agency I work at, Boys Town, we have a group home that has 30 kids that live on campus, that most of them are going to be adopted. And we have a residential community foster care program that 20 kids of them are to be adopted as well. You know, all we do is prep them to go to these women and parents and, you know, men to be nurtured and loved. And I've just learned a lot seeing them learn and accept who they are, you know, seeing the skills used to fortify them as people I need to use on myself too, you know, praising people for doing a good job, praising myself for doing a good job, allowing them to be children. You know, so often children who've experienced trauma feel like they aren't allowed to be children anymore. They have to act like adults. And, you know, as an adult, I'm allowed to act like a child every once in a while too. It's so healing to give your inner child that space and that time. So I really just appreciate hearing from everyone, and I see it every day. And I just thank these women and Heart Gallery for connecting more people to the children who need it so desperately. So
yeah, fantastic. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I forgot to mention Boys Town. So in the links, listeners, there'll be links to all the links to the Heart Gallery Big Bend and Boys Town, so you can check out their websites, check out what they're doing on social, follow them, and hopefully start some conversations going. I just want to thank you all for being such lovely guests and sharing your wisdom and your learnings. It's been an honor and a privilege this afternoon.
Well, thank you for having us. We appreciate being able to kind of get information out to adoptive parents to be able to help them feel and see their resiliency, and that they do have it and they can handle what they may be going through something right now, and they're going to get through that and they can handle it. Just throw in the towel. There are better days to come. Just don't throw in the towel yet.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much, listeners. We will speak to you again very soon. Goodbye.